guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm coming to you from the beautiful province of Champasak in southern Laos. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at the ancient Khmer site of Wat Phou, which is located approximately 50 kilometers southwest of the provincial town of Perched in southern Laos. According to Wikipedia, the first establishment of this ancient Khmer site goes back to the 2nd century BC, which is quite amazing. As with a lot of these Khmer sites, there's an approach road which is aligned to the east, and this one here runs right up to the base of the mountain. The mountain is called Phou Khao Mountain, and there's a couple of Khmer structures at the base of it, which are quite interesting apparently. When this was first established back in the 2nd century BC, the first structures were right up on the top of that little peak there, below that sandstone cliff face. And apparently there's a freshwater spring that comes from it, which was considered to be a holy well. These are the typical entry road markers that you see in a lot of these Khmer sites. Over in Siem Reap they're exactly the same. You've got an approach road with lined with these vertical marking posts. Alright, once again, according to Wikipedia, these two structures we're looking at here are known as the King and Queen's Palaces. And they were apparently established on the lower levels of the site between the 11th and 12th centuries. As you can see, they are definitely Khmer architecture. The site was part of the Khmer Empire, or the Angkorian Empire, which spread west from Cambodia and as far as Buriram province in Thailand. At one point in time in the Khmer history, this was considered one of the most holy sites, mainly because of the spring that comes from the sandstone cliff, but also on the highest peak, somewhere up in those clouds there, there's a natural stone stupa. It's been called the Linga Pavata. Apparently it was a dedication to the god called Shiva. Alright, I'm just going to head up and have a bit of a look around this what's called the King's Palace. Definitely Khmer architecture, big stone blocks, and all the artwork is exactly the same as what you see over in Siem Reap. This site was definitely a Hindu site for at least 1,000 years. It was only in its later stages, perhaps after the 13th or 14th century, when it converted to being considered a Buddhist site. Alright, well, as you can see, it's a bit overgrown in here, but it's really just the outer wall now of this part of the structure that's showing anything. As I mentioned, these structures are on the lower levels of the site, and they were the later additions. The earliest, let's say, little temples and carvings are up on the upper level, and it's actually quite an interesting spot. I've been up there before. There's some Quite unique carvings up there. Alright, there's quite a bit of restoration work going on over there on the Queen's Palace. I'll just quickly nip over to the entrance over there and see if I can get in there. Alright, this is the main entrance of the King's Palace. I had a look at the Queen's Palace and unfortunately it's blocked off, so I can't get in there. Alright, anybody's been to Angkor Wat, you'll see that these windows, or the bars on the windows, are exactly the same as over there. So it's definitely Khmer architecture. Alright, we've got the seven-headed snake, kind of a standard thing, guarding the entrance to the approach road up to the upper level of the temple. I've been in Park Say for a couple of days. The last 2 days was pretty heavy rain, so I wasn't able to get out. Today the weather's cleared up, but as it is often in this part of the world, if you've had heavy rain for a couple of days, then the first clear day is often marked with high humidity, and it's certainly the case today. It's absolutely scorching. Another reason why the Khmer's probably built this site here was that there's an endless supply of sandstone geology here. Well, back in the day, that was a very steep stairway to ascend up to the next level. Thankfully today, we've got that little steel or wooden stairway over there. Alright, we've got a little drink stall here and some shade. I'm going to stop and have a bit of a respite, have a cold drink, and then about 10 minutes or so I'll push on. Alright, I'm just about to head up to the upper section of the site, which is the more ancient and the more interesting area. We've got a cobblestone pathway here, which is obviously very old. It's quite broken up. Okay, we've got an amazing little tree enshrouded stairway here. It's quite beautiful. Okay, that's the view back down to where I've just come from. It's a fantastic pathway up to the upper level. Alright, this is quite dramatic. There's apparently 7 levels here which lead to the upper level, and we've got a fairly steep stairway there. Looks something like a Mayan temple almost. Alright, I'm on the upper level. It was a bit of a tough hike to get up here, but what we're looking at here is the oldest little temple. This one was built in the 7th century, according to Wikipedia. Well, it's certainly understandable why the Khmer's built this site here. The views from this upper level are quite spectacular. In the foreground there we've got the 2 man-made lakes, or barays as the Khmer's called them, and they're actually almost 1 kilometre in length. Pretty amazing the amount of dirt that came out of there. Well, this is a beautifully serene spot for a temple. It's very idyllic. As mentioned, this site for perhaps almost 1,000 years was a Hindu site. It was only perhaps since the 15th century that it became a Buddhist site. Alright, in the inner sanctum of this little temple, we've now got a nice big gold Buddha statue there. Alright, I'm now going to head up to the holy well, or the holy spring, which is just over the back there, under that big sandstone rock. In early times, perhaps going back 1500 years or so, this was considered one of the holiest sites in the Khmer Empire. Alright, this is quite funny. The last time I was here, which was just only 3 years ago, I actually climbed up onto this large rock here. Looks as though the authorities have decided they don't want people doing that anymore. Okay, some more Khmer architecture, and over there there's the holy spring. I guess this water just comes out from under this large sandstone rock here. Alright then, I've had a look at the holy well, or the holy spring, and I'm now going to make my way up to a site or an attraction which is called the Buddha's footprint. Alright, this is a bit of an overview of the 7th century temple on my way up to the Buddha's footprint. Okie doke, here we are at the Buddha's footprint, and this is actually the highest point of the site. Alright, I've seen the Buddha's footprint, and I'm now heading to what is arguably the best part of the site. That is the area where the earliest structures and carvings were set up or put in place, you know, starting from the 2nd century BC. Okay, here I am, continuing on with my look at the Khmer historical site called Wat Phou, which is located in Champasak province in southern Laos. Alright, I'm heading towards the oldest section of the site. As I mentioned, according to Wikipedia, the structures and carvings in this area apparently date back to the 2nd century BC, so it's almost prehistoric. I think I've got to work my way up through those rocks over there. Alright, here we are at the attraction called the Elephant Rock. As you can see, there's a figurine of an elephant head carved into this large sandstone rock. It's quite amazing to think that this is possibly over 2,000 years old. There's some carved blocks around here which apparently date back to the same early period. Not quite sure what this is supposed to be. It looks like perhaps it was a part of a stairway maybe. These stone blocks are obviously carved. They're very geometrical. They must have been part of some sort of structure back in the day. With all these stone shapes here, or carved shapes. I guess they must have been part of an early structure. Alright, I remember in Wikipedia they talked about a meditation platform. I've got a feeling that this may have been what it was. And here we are at another early Khmer carving. It looks like a little stairway of some kind, but obviously it's probably not. Alright, this one here is very interesting. It's called the Crocodile stone. There's an indent carving in it that's the shape of a crocodile. According to a 6th century Chinese text, which is mentioned in Wikipedia, this carving here, or whatever it is, was possibly used for human sacrifice. Alright, that pretty much wraps up my tour of the Khmer historical site called Wat Phou. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on my next adventure around Southeast Asia.